Hello guys, this is gonna be weird to say, and girls. Now, yeah, that's crazy. We actually have girls who are watching this channel now, so yeah, it's gonna be hard to used to when you welcoming here. Um, we are actually back with another Warhammer video, but not the one you think you wanted. We are back with. We reacted to Pancreas No Work before, but I found this video on my own, and I kind of always wanted to know maybe Warhammer Fantasy is better than Warhammer 40k, so he's gonna tell us. But usually before we start the video, I tell you about how my couple of days went, and it went fucking horrible, bro. Listen, genuinely, I have like this one more. It's so good. I had it for like 2 years. I'm not joking, you guys. My warranty literally expired last week. Guess what? This fucking piece of shit. So you see this red bar? This is like the main bar where you hold it. So the red lever is like you like push it towards this red bar, and this thing starts. The black bar on the back, you also push it towards the red bar. Basically what it does, there's like the mechanism in the wheels, which basically auto pushes the whole lawnmower forward. Guess what? It broke today, and it was extremely sunny day, like 27 degrees Celsius. I know, bro. I'm Slavic, dude. To me, it is hell, bro. Literal hell. And that piece of shit broke, and I had to basically push this shit around. It's heavy as fuck, bro. I feel like I'm gonna suffer from heat stroke because, bruh, this insane. So horrible day. Honestly, the fact that if you listen for this part, I fucking love you. But now, no joke, we're back. Pancreas no work, obviously. I'll link his video in description. Please leave it a like. Let's begin.
Been a while since I've done a bit of a rambling opinion piece, and I figured for this one I'd just flop my schmeat onto the table for all to see and judge.
Ooh.
As you can probably guess from the title, I think Warhammer Fantasy is a better setting than Warhammer 40k.
That's a very tough statement. So, again, I reacted to only one Warhammer Fantasy video, and I was thinking about Kislev a lot. I actually was googling stuff for Kislev. Listen, I can relate to Kislev.
I much prefer it to 40k for a whole variety of reasons, and I figured I'd tell you all those reasons in a little more low-key of a video while the Malekith one is waiting to come out and the Tau Duardone is in the works. Probably shouldn't have to tell you this, but this is my opinion, not the word of Christ Almighty himself. So if
once your opinion enters the internet domain,
I say something here you disagree with, that's okay. Opinions are nice like that. There's rarely a single correct.
What? It is actually possible to have a different opinion from a different person and live in peace and harmony? I wonder where I saw that happen.
One. This is a Warhammer YouTube channel, not a congressional hearing. But I'll throw some actual reasons your way too, just to pretend I can analyze these settings at a level approaching rational thought. So sit back and enjoy the background Total War footage with occasional pictures while I lay my smooth-brained thought processes out for you. But before I go on, look at this really quickly. One, okay. I'd be terribly grateful if you did what it says, but also I want to give a massive thanks to Barry Waltz for throwing.
It's actually a very cool idea to do it. Thank you, Pancreas No Work. You also given me ideas. I probably am gonna steal it.
This together for me. I made a silly, poorly edited meme when he overtook me in subs. He gives me something I can use for the rest of my YouTube career. What a class act, that Barry. I don't know how to get rid of the black bar or the green screen.
I actually wonder what game is he playing, because it looks interesting. It looks like Heroes 3, but more complicated.
so it's going to stay like this and add to the general trashy feel of my channel. Not that it's trashy itself, it's just me handling anything
It would be funny if it was like Hero 5.
someone gives me as trashy, you see. Anyways, I don't know what I'm doing. Time to talk about why I think fantasy is better. First of all, and this is a reason that can't really be debated unlike some of the others because it's just personal taste, I prefer fantasy to sci-fi. I like dragons and wizards more than I like spaceship fights and planetary bombardment. Don't get me wrong, sci-fi is still amazing.
You know what? I actually was also one day thinking about it. And I must say it, I actually like dragons and wizard shit more than space shit. So I kinda agree, but just because I agree on this thing doesn't mean, you know, it's
I've
better.
got a Halo tattoo among other things. I gotta love sci-fi a bit, but I just prefer fantasy to it.
Actually, never played Halo, so no idea.
That being said, there are still a few ways within the context of Warhammer that gives fantasy an edge over 40k in this department. Something I read online that I'm a big fan of quoting is that 40k is a fantasy setting cosplaying as science fiction. I mean, there's demons and hyperspace travel involves going through hell. I hope I'm not breaking anyone's mind by saying 40k isn't exactly hard science fiction. But it's still somewhat sci-fi, so this means it has to justify things a bit more than fantasy does. For example, psychic powers. In 40k, the Chaos Gods all have various things related to psychic powers and how souls work in the universe to explain how in a setting that's supposedly sci-fi, there's evil gods and demons. Each of them came about at various points in history in response to events in the material world. It's a similar situation with the old ones and their creations. The Eldar gods, for instance, might not be gods, but either manifestations of Eldar belief, or the old ones taking on the role of gods to survive. Either way, you get people like the Emperor taking on the argument that there are no gods in the setting, just things we don't understand that are evil and pretending to be gods. There's more work being done to justify why the setting is the way it is. Psyker powers themselves also suffer from a similar effect. You see, when Ahriman blasts some poor bastard with lightning, he's not using magic. It's actually psychic powers emanating from a realm beyond human comprehension. Totally not magic. Look at all these reasons we have listed for you that someone resurrecting with the power of someone else called the God Emperor isn't magic. You know what the justification
But I'm confused, but it's not magic. Like, it's war powers. So yeah, I'm a bit like confused because maybe I need to listen fully to trying to get the
is for
point.
there being gods and magic in Warhammer Fantasy? It's a fucking fantasy setting. Of course there's wizards and evil gods. They're just part of the setting. There's much less legwork needed to be done in order to make the setting work. There's also the advantage inherent in fantasy settings that people more or less know a lot about everything involved before they even get into the setting. For instance, high elves are going to be arrogant, aloof, and good at magic. Dwarfs like beer, live in mountains, and eat rocks.
This is what I hate about fantasy. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it because I already know what their shtick is. I hate it.
This makes the setting much easier to jump right into because if you're getting into
it makes the setting easier to, well, in that sense it does, but it kind of, for me, like it would ruin because I already know what to expect. There's no like there's nothing. Only if something different would happen in the setting, I would be like, no way. But it's so hard to get my point across because I'm too baked right now.
Warhammer Fantasy, you presumably know what an elf is. Sure, the specifics might trip you up a bit, like orcs are a bit different.
Yeah, again, just think about it. Every elf is arrogant, tall, lives in trees, fucking blonde probably, and is good with a bow. Now, Warhammer 40k elves, they're like not like that at all. We're so different, yet we're obviously like elvish, but we're so different that I like it. Where fantasy, again, I just hate it. You know, I read so many books back in the day, and every time I read it, it was the same stuff, just like with a little bit different spins on it.
In Warhammer than anywhere else.
Like extremely like little, you know, difference.
But you can get a handle on the broad strokes before you even read into the lore. Meanwhile, 40k has to explain pretty much everything. What's a Primarch? What's a Space Marine chapter? Why is everything...
Yeah, I kind of also dislike that. Like everything has to be like super mega explained, you know. It's why I think many people, I have like friends who are very like interested, but they don't wanna go like deeper. Me, I wanna go deeper.
Heresy. Even if some of these things have simple answers, they still need answers, whereas
Yeah.
with fantasy, you can just jump right into it. This makes it a lot easier to get into Warhammer.
Okay, now I think, okay, that's, yeah.
Fantasy than 40k. For something a bit less meta, let's talk about the scale of the settings. Warhammer 40k is a gigantic blob of a science fiction universe. I mean, look at this map. There's a whole lot of diddly in the 40k galaxy.
I think, yeah. This is, what, 40 years in the making? Yeah. Yeah.
Now let's go back down to Warhammer Fantasy. It's a single world that looks a whole lot like Earth, with a not Atlantis right in the not Atlantic. Thankfully, there's still a landmass roughly equivalent to Florida, so rest assured there's certainly some lizardmen and or dark elves in that area high on back.
I just like Florida man memes.
At first you might go bigger is better, and in some ways 40k's massive size does give it an advantage over Fantasy. There's far more room for homebrews and large-scale adventures to take place in without upsetting the status quo, but that's very much a double-edged sword. There's plenty of downsides to it, and one is that the scale of 40k can keep individual achievements from meaning anything. Let's say some chaos lord blows up a planet. Okay. Cool, I guess. That's nothing. Inquisitors do that regularly. Bieltan regularly cleanses all life on a planet down to the bacteria on it. A character can conquer a system, and there'll be 100 like him who've done equally as much, if not more. But going back to fantasy, it's a single planet. Destroying certain cities can mean a whole lot, even though it's just a single city. It gives a much better scale of threat than GW having to just keep up.
I agree on this point, but also I think that is more boring. That's why I guess I personally like Warhammer, because the scale is so insane, but I understand the point. Like, it's so big that half of the shit that happens, like he said, it's meaningless. Oh, Inquisitor explodes, decides to blow up a planet. That planet doesn't matter. Like, there's probably like there is a million worlds in the space. One planet will definitely not change anything, so Warhammer has fantasy. It's like everything is going on one planet. Yeah, it's like, I don't know. It depends on what person you are, I guess.
The amount of planets someone conquers to mean anything. There will always be more planets in the Imperium. Just conquering one doesn't mean anything for a character. But if some guy and his band of Chaos Goobers take down a city at the edge of the Empire, that can mean something. Depending on what the city was, you can get an actual sense of scale out of that. Another advantage of fantasy scale is that you can actually get a sense of threat based on where a battle or threat takes place. Space is very big. Realistically speaking, a Chaos incursion taking place 30,000 light years away from Terra is no more of a threat than one taking place 3,000 light years away from it. But the writers of GW are going to make the second one seem worse because it's technically closer, even though in both cases the enemy is still a massive amount of distance away from the throne world. It's space. You can't march an army across the galaxy, no slow attrition warfare across the land. It's just 3,000 is closer than 30,000, therefore that's a big deal, ignoring the fact that realistically speaking, those are both such massive distances with such massive amounts of planets and star systems in the way that they're almost equivalent. But now let's go look at a map of the Empire.
This point is harder for, I think there's like, how to say it, it's like it's like charming in a sense that everything's going on. The stakes are higher, but I think Warhammer 40k makes it more interesting, even though the stakes aren't as high.
Of man. Let's say Chaos Raiders are on the coast of Nordland. Who gives a shit? You can probably see Norska from the coastline if the weather permits. Viking raiders coming into pillage is like the first snowfall of the year. It's just part of life. You can tell based on its location that it's not a meaningful threat to the Empire if a Norskan raid goes into Nordland. But let's say the Chaos Raiders are now in Ubersreich. The exact same amount of raiders with the exact same gear and the exact same amount of attention from the Chaos Gods. Without changing the number of invaders or their strength at all, you just scale the threat level up massively, because now they aren't in bumfuck nowhere, they're in the capital province of the Empire and a stone's throw away from Altdorf, the capital city. You can infer so many more things about the threat than in 40k solely based on its location and distance from other locations. One last thing to touch on with the scale.
This point, maybe it went really over my head, but same. A small portal magically open next to Terra, and Alfarius comes down and is like, "Bwahaha, I come to kill the corpse emperor," and isn't it like the same? But I know I don't know,
We're
bro.
moving on is similar to my first
Again, I'm sorry, I'm so baked.
point. With a few exceptions, a location being destroyed in 40k just doesn't mean anything due to how many more near identical versions of the location exist.
Yeah, but if that would happen next to Terra, it changes a lot. You know, I learned a little bit about how that planet called that Cadia. It was important, you know.
Oh no, Forge World Hephaestus was destroyed. What will we do? Oh, there's another 1,000 of them. Sure, some worlds will matter more, but there will always be more worlds.
Now he's making more sense.
There will always be enough Forge Worlds or Agur Worlds or whatever the hell worlds to keep the Imperium at the level of things are getting very bad, but we aren't quite crumbling yet. The only way to make a particular location important is for the writers to say it's important for one reason or another. This Forge World is important because it has a certain tech blueprint. This Agur World is important because it feeds 100 other worlds. And even knowing that, there will always be more planets to fill in the gap. Again, there are exceptions. Cadia blowing up was pretty consequential, to put it mildly, and either of the two passages between the Great Rift falling would certainly be bad news, to say the least. But for the most part, the Imperium can lose 100 planets in a day and it means nothing. Now go back to fantasy. Let's say a horde of beastmen raise a city. Pillars of literal shit erected up to mark the hunting grounds, the Side of Order has no more presence here, victory for chaos. As small a change as that might be in the grand scale of things, it's infinitely more impactful in fantasy because that's it. There's no replacement for that city sitting around the galaxy. There won't be a lost one to find in some forgotten corner of reality. That city's gone, and without a major effort, it won't ever be replaced or come back. Strategic locations and resources mean so much more because there's not another dozen essentially identical versions of them located across the galaxy.
Okay, if sum up this point, it matters more because instead of million worlds, everything is going on in one, which, yeah, the stakes are higher. I think just because the stakes are a lot higher doesn't mean the interest is also as high as that. Does that make sense?
A critical fortress world can be destroyed, but it doesn't really matter at the end of the day. It's space, you can go around it. But you can't go around Helmgard. Unless you're the Skaven, then you just go under it. To stop rambling on about scale, the characters in Warhammer Fantasy just feel more relatable and appreciable as people.
I think like the comments on, if there is even gonna be the comments are gonna be like, bro, half of the shit went over your head,
Part
man.
of that is probably GW's focus on Marines. I'm not a super soldier in the
sorry I did that voice.
year 40,000. I don't fight massive battles on the daily. I admit this might just be a me thing, but I find it hard to relate to the demigod son of the Emperor feeling a bit snubbed by his divine daddy. Also, this whole video is about a me thing anyways, but I digress. Even ignoring that, however, the people in 40k almost seem like empty shells. I'm struggling to explain exactly what I mean, so how about I try and pull a valid example? Karl Franz, yeah, I'm sure you could predict that was my example, is the Emperor of the Empire of Man, Prince and Emperor of Reichland, wielder of Galmaraz, and yes, I am going to introduce him with that full set of titles every time I bring him up for
It's cool that he mentioned someone who I don't know. Okay.
the first time in a video. He's a noble warrior and great statesman, but by his own admission in Total Warhammer, he does some dark stuff to keep the Empire safe. A witch hunter can order a town burned to the ground because he thinks a chaos worshipper or vampire might have power there, and he does it with Karl's stamp of approval. But he does this because he cares for his country, his people. This is just the only way he can see the Empire surviving another day. He's motivated by the goodness and patriotism in his heart, even though the deeds he approves of are horrendous. Even the evil characters get a lot of depth like this, with some exceptions. Nagash, Sigvald, all of the Skaven ever. Vlad wants power and to rule the Empire, but he gives at least a bit of a damn about the average human in the world at a level beyond walking, talking blood juice box. Characters in 40k, meanwhile, often just seem to do the things they do because it's expected of them, and relatedly are massive assholes because otherwise the setting wouldn't suck. Why do Space Marines fight chaos? Well, there's so many chapters that it varies, but a lot of the time I get the impression the reason is because that's what they're supposed to do. Do they massacre civilians even though they hate it because they just think they need to? No, not really. They just do that because that's what Marines do. They don't give a damn about humanity or even fellow Space Marines. They just fight because they need to fight. There's no motivation beyond fighting. That's it. A lot of Space Marine chapters commit evil deeds not because it's a necessity, but because they're the dickhead.
I don't know. It's like Space Marines fight because they need to fight. It's like, I think, oversimplified. I guess I think that's not fair. But again, I don't know much about fantasy or Warhammer 40k to compare, but from the side it might look like that, but I don't know. Behind me I only have like some experience in the newest games of Warhammer 40k, and it is like that, but it isn't.
Chapter and the dickhead chapter has to be dickheads. They commit evil deeds just because that's their role in life, not because they think this is the only.
No, also, I know it's like a joke. Everywhere I see like some people immediately, oh, that Space Marine chapter has like a dickhead who is in charge. And I think some people, how to even to say it properly, it's like it's unfair to even say it, you know, in a sense that just because someone is like following like orders in the setting doesn't make them a dickhead. It's just, you know, some things have to do. I'm gonna
option, and they hate every
brother.
minute of it. And yes, I'm aware they're brainwashed child soldiers, but my viewpoint on that is just because there's a reason for something being boring doesn't make it not boring. It's like when a video game character is made to be annoying on purpose. Good job, you succeeded. I still hate them. A lot of 40k characters also fit templates. This man is a salamander. He's kind to the common man and likes fire. This is an Eldar. She's aloof and mystical and arrogant as all hell, only really caring about herself and other Eldar.
Again, I think what I'm trying to say is, yeah, he's like given what they are basically, and it's not true. It's just shortened version of them. I don't think all salamanders are extremely friendly and like saving people. Like, I think, yeah, maybe they do it more than ever, but I don't think we're as different from ultramarines. I don't. I think it's what community wants them to be, but I don't think they are. Does that make more sense?
There are exceptions, don't get me wrong. Caiaphas Cain and the Gaunt books especially break the mold of their factions. But reading about 40k characters a lot of the time, it seems like they take the standard template for a faction and then add a quirk or two. Fantasy still has templates for characters, I'm not going to pretend it doesn't. I'm not going to show that much favoritism, this isn't Halo I'm talking about. But let's look at a few of the high elf characters. There's Teclis, a crippled mage who does his best to keep the realms of man and elf safe.
See, that's different. And an elf mage, but he's crippled. That's interesting. I've never seen a maybe I did see, but it's different. Now this is interesting.
His own. There's Eltharion the Grim, the living epitome of a brick wall who cares about nothing but defending his homeland and ensuring that Yvres never falls to orcs like it once nearly did. There's Aletha Nar, who's basically just a spirit of vengeance against dark elves that never got around to dying because he's so damn focused on killing more dark elves he just doesn't age. None of them are anything like each other. And that's ignoring Finnabar, Tyrion, Kalador Dragon Tamer, and all sorts of minor characters. There are two minor high elf characters in a Gotrek and Felix book that to my knowledge never appear in another book, and each of them were completely distinct from anyone else. In fantasy, not only are the characters more relatable, but they don't—
Okay, but now this, I might be so wrong on this. Okay, so he mentions how there are some characters who basically were never written like the other characters. How many books in comparison does fantasy have to Warhammer 40k? If it's like, if fantasy like releases like 2-3 books compared to 40k releasing like 10 books a year, well, I understand.
Feel nearly as reliant on templates. Templates still exist, but it feels like they don't to anywhere.
I'm just feeling like this video is so biased, and I'm like, I'm trying not to be a fancy
near the same extent. Something else about fantasy I personally find appealing is that its history is fairly concise and laid out. Now, I'm not that much of a fool. I know that 40k's vibe of history and culture being lost and forgotten is a major part of the setting, especially the Imperium. And the setting as a whole would certainly be lesser if that wasn't the case. But I'm still a silly guy who majored in history.
I also have to say, I'm like looking at this game looks fun.
I like seeing the entire chain of events leading into one another, reading about the people and revolutions that changed the world, and with fantasy, you get exactly that. There's still some mystery, like precisely what the old ones were doing beyond preparing for chaos, or how exactly the Skaven came about, given that there's like 5 different accounts from the doom of Kavzar to the sea god cursing some sailors. But everything from Sigmar's rise to the War of the Beard to Nagash are all fairly well accounted for. You can read exactly why elves and dwarves hate each other, just how Malekith's rise to power went down. There's little theory crafting or anything like it involved. That too has its downsides in that there's much less interesting debates and theories to discuss, but like I said earlier, this is a matter of taste. And also, like I said earlier, just because there's a reason something is the way that it is doesn't mean I have to like it. Sue me. And finally, I just think fantasy has better games. I know, a very weak point, but this whole video is subjective, so why don't I end on something that's 110% subjective, as opposed to the rest of this video just being 100% subjective. The Total War, Warhammer, and Vermintide games absolutely knock it out of the park. By quantity, I think 40k has more—
I only heard the good things. Isn't it basically from the creators who made Darktide? And I'll be honest, I played Darktide in the beginning. I clocked like, actually, I don't need to even, guys. I can just show you. I 170 hours, but like the first 160 hours was like before all the updates. I really haven't played the new updates.
Good games, and it has some absolute bangers, don't get me wrong. I mean, anyone who's a fan of RTS games...
This game is my like, I wouldn't say like, okay, childhood.
Doesn't think Dawn of War is amazing,
It's
either
beautiful.
hasn't played it or is lying to you. Space Marine is a fun little snacky third-person shooter, and
again, I played it, it's fun, and this is Mechanicus, also
I'm sure
fun.
needs no introduction. But out of the enjoyment I've gotten out of the games, Fantasy has won by a long shot. A lot of people started learning new hobbies and skills in 2020 when we were all stuck at home, from cooking to even painting miniatures, more related to the hobby. I woke up, booted up Steam, and played Total Warhammer 2 for 8 hours. Summer 2020 was the summer of Total Warhammer for me. And I think I'm wrapped up here. That's all my major reasons for why I think Fantasy is better than 40k. Do keep in mind I've been specifically referring to Warhammer Fantasy and not Age of Sigmar, because some of the things I said about the scale of the setting, for instance, apply just as well to AOS as they do to 40k.
Okay.
And with that, I think I'm also out of strawman arguments I can think of to defend myself with. Either way, do let me know in the comments why whatever Warhammer setting you like the most is your favorite. I'm happy to read them, because this is all about personal enjoyment, and I love to hear what makes people interested in the setting they chose to champion. Malekith is coming out soon. This should be going up before that's out. Don't tell anyone I told you this one, but me and some other fellas have some Necron stuff coming out soon. More on that to come. Shout out again to Barry Waltz for gifting me that wonderful little subscribe notification. He's a real pal. Go sub to Brigingo Waltathan. Thank you, of course, to my wonderful channel members. You are the Galmaraz to my Warhammer. Without you, it just wouldn't be the same around here. If you'd like to support the channel, consider subscribing or becoming
Important
a member. Either
members
way, thanks for
of this man club.
watching, and take care out there.
Okay, he pretty much, I think, ended the video. Wait, there probably something in the end. The last time he had a meme in the end.
And of course, Dami Mami Marathi is in Fantasy, therefore making it the best setting by default. My parents once said to make sure I don't put anything that might harm me on YouTube in one way or another, you know, nothing that'll be embarrassing for me in the future. And for when more of my family finally finds this channel, I'd just like to say this in response to that. You would need the force of 10,000 industrial...
I think I didn't know where he goes with that. Yay, again. Thank you, Snowwork. Thank you for making this video. This is probably gonna be one controversial video on my channel, because I see people are just gonna say I'm biased to 40k more. I definitely think that maybe I did like this video like too soon. Maybe I needed to explore Warhammer 40k a bit longer and explore fantasy a little bit also. Like go a little bit deeper to then be able to form a better opinion, because I won't lie, as of right now, I personally am more interested in 40k, because I find it, how to say, it's more crazy than you know, than fantasy. Everything is going in one world. Yeah, as he said, the stakes are higher, but it's also like maybe it's just, you know, I just find 40k more interesting, I guess. But with due time, as promised, we will explore fantasy also, and I'll actually be curious to see how would my opinions change, let's just say, like in next year, for example, if I'll still be around. Hopefully someone will remind me, and I will be able to form a better opinion. Thank you for watching this video. I rambled way too much, and half of the stuff I rambled probably wasn't. I'm done. Ciao.